Announced this week that he's stepping away from the industry after his family revealed he's suffering from a medical condition that's affecting his cognitive abilities. Willis's daughter shared that news on Instagram, saying he's been experiencing some health issues and was recently diagnosed with aphasia. It's a condition that impacts the ability to communicate and can be caused by a stroke, a head injury, a brain tumor, or disease. And joining us live this morning with more is speech-language pathologist Teresa Alexander from MedStar Health. Thanks for joining us this morning. Thanks for having me, and it's a great opportunity for more people to learn about aphasia. Oh, it really is, because I think this really took so many people by surprise, and it had a lot of folks asking the question, what exactly is aphasia? That's a great question. It's a communication disorder that impacts language primarily. And then as Bruce Willis's family shared, for some folks, it can also impact other cognitive abilities, visual spatial skills, memory come to mind. But for many people with aphasia, it only impacts their ability to understand words, retrieve words, reading and writing. This has to be very, very upsetting and confusing for the individual suffering from it, but also from family members and those who love that person. Yes, so you're right. Aphasia does not only impact the person who has aphasia, it impacts all of their communication partners, including all of us as community members. So there's a lot of things that we can do in terms of not only being aware of what aphasia is, but becoming more and more aware of communication strategies that we can use to communicate much more effectively with the 2 million people in the United States who have been impacted by aphasia. So what are some of the treatment methods that could be used in a case like this? There is a broad network of speech-language pathologists who are competent to partner with people who have aphasia, their communication partners. Depending on the cause and the nature of the aphasia, a lot of the treatments do work to remediate the language deficits through what's known as neuroplasticity. So the fact that our brain is capable of change and being wired and rewired. So a lot of repetition, sometimes tapping into the right side of the brain that is largely unaffected. A lot of times that's effective. And then for folks who have had much larger strokes, or for folks who have aphasia due to a progressive disease process, a lot of times we're focusing on other ways of communicating that don't rely so heavily on words. Augmentative communication devices can be helpful for some people. There are so many methods. It's really about connecting with a competent speech-language pathologist, of which there's many of us, thankfully. And we're happy to partner with people as they're navigating this aphasia. And can people recover from it? Yeah, so it depends on the cause and how large how much of the brain has been impacted. Aphasia tends to be an invisible chronic disability. So for many people who acquire aphasia, it's never quite as easy to communicate as it had been prior to when they acquired it. However, there are a lot of people, yes, who make a remarkable recovery. So folks who are able to access speech language services tend to make on average nearly twice as much improvement as people who don't. And that's for largely post-stroke aphasia. The Congresswoman Gabby Giffords comes to mind. Mm-hmm. She's been working at her communication skills for a number of years now and has made really remarkable progress. For folks who have something called primary progressive aphasia, that does tend to make language skills get progressively more and more challenging over time. So the focus on treatment there is really maintaining and compensating and really targeting those words, language, and communication skills that are most important and most functional to that person and their loved ones, to preserve those communication skills for as long as possible. Which really, and that's the goal, is to be able to keep communicating. Absolutely. For sure. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me. You are so welcome, and please stay with us. Still ahead on 11 News Saturday morning. Baltimore City, I think we're going to go to
Baltimore City challenges in court the state takeover of the